I have always been looking for a good solution for automation for my dust collection. So I discovered this product from Grit Automation because they emailed me, which I almost deleted the email because I thought it was junk mail. But when I opened up the email and I saw what it was, I asked them if we could get on a phone call as soon as possible. And they really opened my eyes on their product. And the first thing I'm going to show you is the dust collection automation, because that's super cool. But that's not even the coolest part about the system. And that's why you have to keep watching so I can show you at the end. They make these adapters that work on metal blast gates. They do not have to be Nordfab blast gates. They just need to be metal. Plenty of options out there, even if you have PVC. These arms right here and this device attach to those. A couple other things that you'll see that they have LED indicator lights. This is indicating that it is closed because it is red. And the green, I don't know if you'll be able to see just yet, but you will on that one in a moment. That shows that it is open. Now I'm going to use the app. Yes, I can control all of this in an app. And I'm going to open and close these just so you can kind of see how they operate. So let's go ahead and close the middle one. Now let's go ahead and open this one. And you're going to see the light switch to green. So that is indicating that it is open. Now I installed those on 4 different blast gates. I have my bandsaw, my joiner planer combo, my table saw, and then I have an auxiliary one that I use for my router table or other things where I need to roll them around and just hook up a 4-inch dust collection to it. Now, how does all of this work? That's what I'm going to show you now. The entire system operates off of this. This is the Grit hub. This is what is communicating with all of the different items that you are trying to automate within your shop. It talks to one of these. This right here is a trigger. This specifically is the one for my table saw. So this gets plugged in line with your tool and the wall. So what I mean by that, this can be plugged into the wall, the tool gets plugged into this. Or if you're running off an extension cord, this goes in between the tool and the extension cord. Now the purpose of that hub is to send a signal to this. So then this is receiving that power and sending that signal to the hub, which does whatever else you set it up to do in the app. So you don't need additional outlets. You just need the outlet that your tool is already plugged into. What about the blast gates? How do they get power? Well, that is what this is. This is a power bank, and this is supplying power to all the blast gates. It has a plug here that is plugged into the wall. As you can see right here, this is some 18-2 low voltage wire, and this runs from blast gate to blast gate, and they're just leapfrogged. So no need to have additional plugs anywhere near the blast gate. They just need to be wired with this. Now, before I go any further and I show you some of the other really cool stuff, I'm going to show you how it works. And I want you to pay special attention up there to where you see the red light. I'm going to turn on my table saw. That's going to open. Dust collector is going to come on. And yes, I clearly have a new table saw. There'll be more on that very soon. And you can still hear the dust collection. Now it's winding down because I've turned off the saw. So it's coming off. Pay attention to that blast gate, because what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn on my jointer planer, and you're going to see that blast gate close. Now, if I come over here, you'll see that that is the gate that I have associated with the joiner planer combo. It is now open. I don't have any tools running, but it will remain open until I turn on the next tool. Now, something else that's cool. Most dust collectors operate off of a remote. Now, for my dust collector, the G700, that was the only trickier part of the install. Everything else is super easy, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. I actually did have to get on a FaceTime call with the creator of this product, and we had to walk through how to do this, because I think I was the first person to install this system that had a Harvey G700 dust collector. And in about 10 to 15 minutes, we had it all set up, and it was great. But I now lose the ability to utilize my remote that came with the machine. So before I said that I have an auxiliary blast gate, and that's to be used on things like a router table or something else. I wheel it out, I hook up the hose, and I can do that with multiple tools. Well, how do I get that blast gate to open if it's not connected to a trigger? Well, that's what this is. This is the grit switch. It's a remote for that blast gate and the dust collector. So basically, I can go in the app and I can say, I want this switch to operate that middle blast gate, and it will open up that middle blast gate, and I can tie that to start my dust collector. So when I'm using the router table or something else in the center of my shop that I need dust collection, that's what this switch is for. And I just keep this switch out of the way so my son doesn't get it and run around and start pushing it all the time. So we're back over to these blast gates, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to depress the switch. It's going to close this. This is going to open. And my dust collection is now starting up. So I think just about every shop has an air filter, air scrubber. And the reason for that is because we're all concerned about the air quality. There's two problems. I have the Powermatic. It's great. It's quiet. There's two issues with me on this is that, one, sometimes I can't find my remote. My son comes out here. He plays with it. He likes to push the power button, and then he puts it somewhere and I can't find it. The second reason is just pure laziness. It's just not turning on the machine, right? Like a lot of us that are doing something and we don't want to take the time to put on our mask and we know we should, but we don't because of laziness. What's great about this, I don't have to worry about any of that anymore because they have a trigger for that to turn on and make sure that my air quality stays good. And it's not just that simple. That trigger also measures the air quality, which is what tells it to turn on. And I can set it at whatever I want to make sure that it turns on and it runs until the air is clean. And it can even go one further. If I want this to turn on when I'm using any particular tool, I can absolutely do that. And for example, right now, I have it tied to my table saw because now my table saw is directly underneath this air scrubber. So now when I turn on my table saw, not only does it open the blast gate, not only does it turn on my dust collector, but it also will turn this on to get a jump start on making sure that that air is clean. Just like the other triggers, this one right here is just for the air quality. The difference with this one is you can see here on the side, there are these two little slots that are here, and this is where Particulate is actually entering this, and this is reading what the air quality level is in the air at any given moment. So to demonstrate this, what I currently have is a screen recording in real time of what it is reading at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I've got quite a bit of very fine dust here from the dust collector. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clap my hands together next to it, and you're going to see on the graph how it spikes. As you can see, it has skyrocketed the particulate level in the air, and you can even see the air quality indicator moving right now to show that the air quality is poor based on the fact that all of that particulate is in the air. And that automatically triggered the air filter to turn on and clean. Now, in that example, you obviously see a very drastic rise and then a very drastic fall. And the reason for that is because right at that very moment, there is a ton of dust that's coming in, and as that starts to settle, the air itself around that area is now not that bad, right? So if that was flying through the air continuously, you'd have that really high level. Regardless, though, when it spikes to those levels above whatever you set it at, it will turn it on until it has gotten the air clean and it is maintained below that level for whatever time you set. You can program it, you can schedule it. I could clean the air every night. I could clean the air in the morning before I come in to work in the shop. It's really endless what you can do. And you can do it either through the particulate ratings or the Dylos air quality ratings if you're more familiar with one or the other. To me, that's a pretty sweet deal. I spent a lot of money on an air filter that I truly just don't use the way that I should be using it. And now, because of this system, I don't even have to worry about it. The air quality in my shop is going to be better, period, without any additional effort on my part and without me having to worry about it and without me being lazy and not turning it on when I know I should. I have still yet to share the biggest thing that drew me to this automation system, but I will in a moment. What I first want to do is briefly discuss the install and show a couple of clips from my install. I'm not going to get really in depth because Grit Automation sends you this very, very, very detailed, thick instruction manual, and it has lots of pictures, and it says just about everything that you would need to know to install this. Furthermore, I actually found that if I just got in the app and messed with the app a little bit, which is very easy to use, very user-friendly, I was actually able to get everything done that I needed to in the app. Because installing it, it's very easy. It's just getting everything synced in the app. All I had to do is just spend a few minutes doing that, and everything was good to go. Now, a general overview of the install and the way that I did it is I started with the hub. Installing the hub is kind of the brains of the entire system, so I went ahead and installed that first and got power to it. Once it goes through the boot up process, it's going to show a QR code on the side, and there's a couple of different QR codes. One to get you connected basically to whatever the network is, and then the other one to get you connected to the app. Once that is done, I went ahead and plugged in all of my different triggers for all of the main tools. The next thing I did was I pressed this button in the center of the hub, and this is the linking button. What this does is this syncs the hub to any of the other devices in your shop that need to talk to it. After I had everything synced together, I moved on to installing the actuators to the blast gates. The instructions are extremely clear and very easy to follow, but the first step is you need to drill a hole using one of these guides into the blast gate itself. Once that is done, you do need to remove the 2 screws and bolts in the metal blast gate. Again, it can be any metal blast gate, but these 2 screws need to come out so you can actually mount the actuator to it and replace the screws and the bolts with the ones provided by Grit. Now, once that's in place and everything is tightened back down, you simply can put your blast gate back on, and you'll have to go through a calibration process. To wire these, it's very simple. That's where the power bank comes into play, but I'm just using this 18-2 wire using a daisy chain method, and there is this small green clip that comes out of the back, making the install very, very easy, and I'm just placing my red wires in the positive, white wires in the negative, putting them in, tightening down the screws, and then reinserting that green clip back into the back of the blast gate. Now, the calibration process is really cool. Basically, what you'll do is you'll sit down on the app, you'll open up whatever blast gate it is. You can rename that blast gate if you choose. And when you go into the calibrate option, you're going to click the open gate until it is at its full open position. And then you are going to hit the close gate until it is at its full closed position. And that's how you calibrate it. Once you set those parameters, it's done. Then you can just open and close the gate to make sure that it is opening to its full point and it is closing to its full point without putting too much stress on the actuator arm. One thing I haven't even mentioned yet is that these can be used on 4-inch blast gates all the way up to like 12 or 14. Might even be higher than that for a DIY hobbyist shop as well as a commercial shop. And on the commercial side of things, it's not just 120 and 240 volt. If you have 3-phase power, this can also be used on a 3-phase power shop. One other thing when it comes to the commercial side or a schoolhouse environment is that you can get these tools to be on an RFID system, meaning if you own a shop and you have multiple people working there, or you are a shop teacher at a university or a school and you have lots of kids using the things, you can set these up to have RFID to where a student or an employee would have to go scan in to that tool and it would show the runtime, who was using it, if they activated a brake on a saw stop, who was using the tool at the time, how long they're spending at each one of the tools. So that brings a whole nother conversation later on if you're running a business and you're trying to track time or billable hours. These are all things that this system can do for you because it's all tracked in the app. Now for the biggest reason why I wanted this system in my shop. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned I have an almost 1-year-old boy and an almost 5-year-old boy. And my oldest, Leo, is becoming increasingly curious in the shop and just in life in general. Now, while my son knows what he should and shouldn't do out here, he's still a young boy. And that curiosity could get the best of him. And that's what I don't want to have happen. Now, I haven't even shared why this product even was created. It was created because a father was out in the shop and his son was out there 5 years old and ended up turning on a tool. While nothing happened to the child, it scared that father. And that father said, I need to come up with a solution to fix this. And he did. And that is grit automation. This system can be locked to where my son, if for some reason I wasn't out here and he wandered in here one day or had friends over and they came out here and I wasn't around, they can't turn on a tool because it can be locked. And all you have to do to lock it is push that button. That kills every single one of those triggers and does not allow power to reach that tool. This can be done in the app or it can be done on this device. If I want to unlock my tools, I simply hit the unlock button and now all of my tools are ready to use. I have purposely placed this high on the wall in a spot where my son cannot just come out and reach it. I also don't even want him to know what those buttons are for. And even if he did find out what the buttons do, I can lock the hub in the app and it can only be unlocked in the app. They even offer lockout enclosures that you can actually lock the plugs together so they can't just remove it and plug in the tool directly to the wall. I can leave my shop at the end of the day and I can hit that button and I can lock those tools. I can go out of town on a trip knowing that my tools are locked and that my son is not going to hurt himself when I am not there. Now, I know some of you guys are going to be watching this video and you're probably saying, well, why not just unplug your tools? Or why not remove the safety switches? Or why not just kill the breakers? While you could do all of those things, it's like anything else. The more inconvenient something is to do, the less likely it is that you're going to do it. So for me, this is the solution that I wanted.